Hello internet, how's it going? Welcome back to the show. Thanks for clicking on this one. My name is Pat Dan, and today we are here with you/Coyote Paws with two S's, who asks, "Want to doodle a pony?" I would love to doodle a little pony. We got the pony costume here. We got a little tail made of yarn. We got the little mane. It looks to potentially have been a homemade kind of deal. I don't know. It's very high quality, if so. OP has done a phenomenal job here creating this little costume that we're witnessing. I think it's truly a beautiful creation that they've made here. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a hot minute for me. I just got back from my little trip to Europe, as you may have heard. I don't know how much I talked about it in the recordings before I left, but this is my first recording back. So we are, we're seeing things that we haven't seen before, telling stories that we've never told, and breaking ground that's never been broken. I like to consider myself a trailblazer, a bit of a money maker, and a time waster. Many people have told me that I fit those descriptors, so I've kind of taken them on. I just spit directly on my screen. Allow me to wipe it off real quick. I don't know if this is like a furry thing that we're looking at here, or like if this is just like a very very dedicated horse girl type thing, or like what, but I like it nonetheless. Like, I'm a big fan. I think more and more over the years, I've, connected with, different people of different interests, of different backgrounds, who have different perspectives on things as they happen, And I think one thing that is just like widely hated by a large proportion of the population is the furry community. Like, I think furries in general get a really bad rap. Like, I've never, ever talked to someone who didn't have something to say about furries, right? Whether really good or really bad, like, there's always commentary to be made on that front. And I think for me, for a lot of the time that I've existed on this world, I've had this kind of negative stereotype just kind of perpetuated based on the media I've consumed, and obviously the hatred fueled by the internet. But the more people that I have talked to, and the more people who I've talked to who actually know a little bit more about it than I do, I've kind of began to see the idea of the furry community as a slight, like a little tad bit less intimidating to me. Like, I've started to think, these guys seem like a little bit, like, obviously they have a level of like confidence and dedication and willingness to be weird that is odd to me, as like someone who's very self-conscious and not interested in exhibiting my like weird interests out in public. That much I feel like is a big difference between me and most people within the furry community. But I think beyond that, like, they're just kind of normal guys. Like, everyone's just like us, And I say that knowing that it's a phrase that I feel like I repeat more often than I should, right? Everyone's just a guy. He's just like us. Like, it's my favorite thing to say, because I feel like it becomes more and more pertinent as I live my life. Like, the more experiences I have, the more I realize everyone's just like us and we're all the same. It's kind of crazy to think about. This is a little like percentage that I like to drop just because it sounds fun, and it puts a little punch to my words, packs a powerful hit when I tell people this. Sometimes they resonate with it, but the idea that like 99.9% of our DNA, like, we are genetically 99.9% exactly the same. Every single person, like, no matter who you're talking to, you are 99.9% genetically the same as that individual. But it's that little 0.1% that makes up your DNA, that little tiny, smidgen of difference that we like to focus on, right? Like, you never hear about the 99.9, you always hear about the 0.1. Like, this guy, oh, he's like Asian or whatever, and that's how we define him. Like, if you look up his IMDb, the first thing it says is Asian American actor or whatever. You know what I'm saying, right? Like, we love to focus on that little 0.1% that makes us different. And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, like, at a basic level. but I do think it says a lot about the way we look at other people. Like, I mean, we love making enemies as much as we love making friends. We love making enemies. And I think that's a super interesting thing to think about, right? Like, if you really like sit and just consider the cultural differences that you think you might have between yourself and another group of people, like usually those differences are greatly exaggerated in your mind, I think. Like, obviously, if you went to another country and tried to just like integrate yourself into the culture, they'd be a little off put and they'd probably like not be super excited about you like trying to steal their thing. Like, it'd feel kind of weird to them just because they're not used to people doing that. Like, they're used to people being kind of adversarial and coming in and saying, you're weird, I don't like how you guys do this, let me show you how we do it over here, kind of thing. But I feel like if you were to like kind of just lock in for a second and realize everyone's the same guy, they're all just like us, we all the same for real, then you kind of start thinking, you know, like why is it that as Americans we think chopsticks are so weird? You know, like really that's the antithesis, or that's sorry. I've realized that I have said the word antithesis a lot when I meant to say thesis. And it's kind of, I think it's made a lot of my points in the past mutt, but going forward I'll make sure to use that word correctly, and exclusively correctly. The weird part is I know the definition of antithesis. Like, I knew what it meant. I just for some reason thought that you could use it interchangeably with thesis at the same time. Like, I thought it just had a dual meaning, which is not true. And I don't know why I'd ever think that, because this is an absurd thing to think. Like, why would a word mean the opposite thing of what it means? But for some reason in my head, it made sense for a hot minute there. But, you know, you're witnessing character development here. Anyway, the grand thesis to, I think, this idea is that, you know, people think chopsticks are weird in America. And I think we need to, you know, dispel that cultural rumor that chopsticks are this big, weird thing. Genuinely, I know this is a weird thing to build up to, because you're like, oh, he's saying all this stuff, like he's about to preach, he's about to virtue signal and pretend to be this social justice warrior or whatever. But I literally just want to talk about chopsticks for a hot minute, because it's kind of a fascinating, like, just a little fascinating point of conversation regarding cultural differences to me, where like I feel like in America, when people look at a chopstick, they see it as this crazy different thing. Like, whoa, this utensil's so crazy. Why would you have to, you know, use dexterity to consume your food rather than just having a stick that you can poke that requires absolutely zero thought or effort on your part? You know, like it seems weird, I feel like, to us commodity based Americans who want everything to be as simple as possible. If we could and we had the money, all of us would just buy a robot that feeds the food to us. You know, I think the chopstick, it requires a little bit more finesse and a little bit more it requires a little bit more skill. Like, I hate to use that word here, but I think it's also true. You gotta know what you're doing with a chopstick, and not that it's very particularly difficult, right? Like, it is possible for everyone to use a chopstick who has like functioning digits, right? But I think it is that slight bit more difficult, just enough that Americans are like, okay, this is impossible, we can't do this. But I do think that's very interesting, because when you think about the chopstick, right, just from an inventor's perspective, like if you're thinking about, hey, we want to make a utensil, right? We want to make something that can help us consume our food without the need to like physically touch it and contaminate it. And also like something that can mimic the experience of eating food with our hands, which is something like, that's where our starting point is, right? Like, we start from eating food with our hands. We're trying to move away from that into something new. What's this new thing, this big invention that you're going to present to me that's going to replace the hand, the fingers, you know, right? Like on the dinner table specifically, at least. I think a chopstick is the perfect replacement for the finger. Like, chopsticks are literally just longer fingers. Like, if we're really thinking about it, like, chopsticks are the sensible invention. A fork is like, what are you yapping about, brother? Like, a fork? Where did you come up with that? it's just, it has nothing to do with the human body whatsoever. It's nothing like we've used to eat before the fork was invented. Like, it's just a weird decision to make, a weird place to pivot towards, and yet it's become the social norm. And it's like, how did this happen? I don't know. I don't know what the perspective is on chopsticks in other places of the world. Like, what is the European perspective on chopsticks? I've never thought about it, but I mean, as an American myself, that's kind of the perspective I've been exposed to. So I feel like I'm the most interested in delving deep into that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cultural difference that I feel like at the end of the day we can just chalk up to us wanting to be adversarial to one another as like human beings. I think, I don't know, maybe I am reaching a little bit, right? Like, maybe I am just coming up with stuff so I can sound cool or whatever. But I do think I mean, I do think there's a little bit of sauce to what I'm saying. I think there's a little bit, like a tidbit of sauce to be gleaned from what has been said here. And if you're able to do that, let me know. I mean, I think cultural differences extend like beyond food, obviously, right? Like, there are interesting cultural moments to be found just throughout the human experience in a vast array of different areas. There are so many industries that we've created that exhibit our cultural differences. I think music is probably like the biggest, most noticeable one to me. And I feel like the music industry itself is super interesting, especially considering how big of a monopoly, just in entertainment in general, I guess, like the US has such a massive hold on entertainment for people everywhere, right? Like, Hollywood isn't just American entertainment. Hollywood is entertainment. Like, when people think movies, they think LA, right? Like, it's not just, oh, LA is where people make movies in America. LA is just where people make movies. Which I know I'm being a little bit repetitive, but I really want to hammer my point home here, because it's not that crazy of a point. I think you understood it the first time, but I like to repeat myself. It makes me feel smarter a little bit. So that's what I was doing there. But I think, especially with movies and music, we have this crazy monopoly on the industry, and anything that we make here, it's like it instantly has a leg up on anything that's made anywhere else. Like, a rapper coming out of Germany is not going to have that immediate bump that a rapper coming out of LA will, right? Like, LA rappers just immediately have a push. And like, whether or not they're going to make use of that, that is a different story, but they do have that immediate leg up, right? Like, I feel like a lot of people forget that. Like, a lot of time I'm thinking to myself, like, what's the point of moving to LA if you're trying to get into the entertainment industry? Like, you can do that from wherever. Which, yes, while true, I think that's a very modern day perspective for sure. Also, there is just like there like, just by percentage value, there's a higher proportion of people coming out of LA being successful in entertainment than anywhere else. So it's like you're giving yourself a leg up just by being there. Whether or not we can pinpoint why exactly that is, like, it is true, and it has historically been proven to be such. So, I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about for sure. I love thinking about these interesting, queries and questions on my mind. I do think I'm a little behind on time for this drawing, though. So we might have to try and pick up the pace. I don't know how much of that is going to be possible, but we can definitely give it our best shot. And you guys are here with me to make sure I stay on track. So if you see me, start bumbling around, doing stuff I shouldn't be doing, spending too long on one part, scream at your screen. I'll hear it from over here. Don't you worry. I'm paying attention to every little word that's spoken out of those two lips of yours. Okay, I don't know why I phrased it like that. As soon as I had the thought, I was like, that was a weird thing to say, and then I said it anyway. Probably shouldn't have, but now it's out there. So just like, can we forget about that one actually, and then move on with our lives, because I think that one, it wasn't one of my best showings of commentary, we'll move on from it real quick. Like, anyway, yeah, I mean, LA rappers do have a leg up. Like, the greatest LA rapper of all time, I think, in my humble opinion, as a casual rap fan, I do love a good bit of Kendrick Lamar. I love a bit of Kendrick Lamar. I guess greatest modern day rapper, like, obviously there's a lot. Okay, it's a wide pool. It's a big, selection of individuals who have created that style of music. So I'm not gonna say Kendrick Lamar is the greatest of all time to ever do it. You know what? Maybe I will say that's a lot. Maybe I will say that Kendrick Lamar is the greatest of all time to ever do it, but not here, right? I'll say that elsewhere, in the privacy of my own home, perhaps, where no one's going to judge me or throw rocks at me for my opinions. I saw this. Okay, this is so unrelated. I saw this one tweet that was like, the modern day equivalent of being called a witch is being accused of using AI when you didn't. And I was like, holy, this is oh, you know what? Someone actually sent that to me, is where I saw that. Okay, yeah. Someone texted it to me, a good friend of mine. But I just wanted to share that with you because I think that's a really funny. And also, the reason that I got texted that was because I told that friend a story about how I turned in an essay one time and my professor was like, hey, this got flagged as 100% AI. And I didn't touch AI a single time in the creation of that essay. In fact, I hate to say this because it makes me sound like big and pretentious and like I feel like I'm better than other people, which is true. I do think that, but also that's not my intention with this statement. I did mention to her after she threw that accusation my way that I've never used AI to help me on an assignment ever. Like, I haven't even prompted it ever, like, to help me work on anything. So like, to this day, still I haven't. Actually, no, that's not true. I have actually recently. A story that I'll probably regale you with at some point throughout one of these videos, but that's for another day. Anyway, I was like, hey, I have never used AI, and actually I hand wrote this whole thing. Is it shit? Yeah, but I did it by hand. I deserve at least like credit for it. Like, I don't deserve a 0 because I did do the work. To which she did not care. So, good little experience, good little story for the fans. One to pass down for generations. They'll be telling that one for a hot minute. But yeah, Kendrick Lamar. I kind of wanted to speak on him a little bit. I've been really trying to up my segue game, and it's just, you know what it does when I try to segue is it just gets me going on more and more tangents, which is fun. I mean, that's cool. I love the tangents, but I mean, it's not my goal with what I was trying to do. Like, I was trying to get somewhere and I was kind of meandering around the point. But, I think the cop-out way is to just go, anyway, I wanted to talk about this, which is what I usually end up doing because I give up at the end. But I don't want to jump straight to that because I'm like, I believe I can do this. And it's like a skill I want to hone. So yeah, in case you're wondering why I get all stuck in this loop of saying nothing, that's why. It's because I'm trying to do that and trying to sound cool for you guys. So bear with me whenever that happens. Anyways, there it is. There's my anyways. Kendrick Lamar, I think, is a very interesting example of like a modern day successful musician, because I feel like in this like day and age that we currently exist, music has been so commercial. And I know everything I say sounds pretentious. I always sound like a prick, but just level with me and be willing to have the conversation with a prick, right? Like he's kind of an asshole, but be willing to hear him out and listen to what he says, even if you don't agree with it or think he's an idiot. Like, just let the guy speak. Let me have my voice, gosh dang it. Let me, a straight man, have my voice for once in this world. Sorry. Okay. Anyways, I was going to say Kendrick Lamar is such an interesting example of, I think, the subversion of modern culture. Not subversion, but I think almost like maybe taking advantage in a certain way of the modern day commercialization of music in a way that like benefits him and his artistry. Because I think I'm going to have to give a little background on my perspective on the state of music, because it's, I think it will help you understand my point here. But basically, what I think about music today, And I don't think this goes across the board. Obviously, there's a lot of artists who are out there doing great stuff, but I do think for the most part, like the vast majority of successful music, a lot of it is made with money first in mind, right? Like money is the first goal. Artistry is kind of just a benefit, like a side benefit, which was not how music was intended to be. I don't think. I don't know. I wasn't there when, the great, I don't know, whatever caveman came up with music. Like I wasn't there when he was there conceptualizing it in the boardroom, so I couldn't tell you what his goal was. But I would imagine it wasn't to make money. Like I would imagine. So I'm just thinking like it's a little sad that is happening, and I see Kendrick Lamar out here kind of doing something that I find very interesting, which is kind of going in opposition to what I see with a lot of other popular artists. When you think about, say, like Taylor Swift, right? Like the first thing on the mind of Taylor Swift when she starts writing a new album, I have to imagine, is how many people are going to buy this thing? Like how much money am I going to be able to make from this? Because she is not an artist. She is a business at this point, right? Like Taylor Swift is a business. And that applies to so many other artists, I think. Taylor Swift is a business. Justin Bieber is a business. DJ Khaled, he's the literal like definition of a business, bro. And so it's like very much secondary when it comes to artistic expression and like artistic integrity, right? Like that's not in the initial equation. It's kind of an afterthought. They're adding it back in after it's been taken away, trying to make up for the lost sauce on the back end, which is never going to work. It's just never going to work. But I think what makes Kendrick Lamar different, and I'm kind of just glazing here, so bear with me. What makes my GOAT different, what makes Kenny the GOAT to end all GOATs, right? He is not a traditional musician, right? I think traditional musicians, they express themselves through things like song structure, melody, the way that they play their instrument. Like those are all things that are important to how they're expressing their artistic vision and telling their story, right, through their songs. While Kendrick Lamar, being a rapper, has less of an importance on those particular musically inclined things and more of an importance on actual lyrical expression of storytelling, right? Which I think it provides him with a very interesting opportunity to both fully express himself as what I would consider a poet. I think out of anything that you could call Kendrick Lamar, I think he's a poet first. Like out of all the titles that you could give him, the first, I think, top ranking one would be poet. He's like the things that people love him for and the things that I would imagine he enjoys about his job all could be accomplished strictly through like poetry itself, right? Like he is creating stories that are being told lyrically through like the rhythmic transmission of word, right? And through rhyme and through structure and through writing, right? Like he's a writer and a poet. Whereas other people are like more on the like melodic side of things. Like they care more about that kind of melodic expression of self. But because Kendrick Lamar is a poet, right? Bear with me here. This is a bit of a mental leap. Because he's a poet, right? He can express himself fully through just like words on a page, right? Or I guess spoken word poetry. So he'd probably have to say them out loud, right? But he can fully express himself to a degree that is satisfying to both him and his audience through that alone, spoken word poetry. And the additional, musical appeal of it all, that's kind of layered on top, right? Like I do think, yes, he is a musician. Yes, he has a great ear for music, and he's good at what he does. I'm not saying he's not a musician. He's a great musician, and he knows a lot about music, and he's great at song structure. He's great at melody. He's great at all those things. It's just not his first priority, right? So he can do his first priority, get that done and dusted, and then afterwards he can be like, okay, now we're going to appeal to the mainstream. Now that I've done my thing, all that I care about, now that that's done, I'm going to inject this mainstream appeal through in the form of the melody, in the form of the hook, in the form of the things that people actually are like hooked in by. That's the afterthought to the initial real true self-expression, I think. And I know all of this sounds pretentious and mid, and you're like, this guy's a loser, shut up, whatever. But I just wanted to say my piece. So let me know if that resonates at all with any of y'all. I am going in a little bit over time here, but sometimes we must, sometimes we gotta. One thing actually that did come to my attention the other day, which this won't be super interesting to any of you because this is like a personally interesting thing because of the life that I've experienced. But that was a weird way of saying that. But I recently found out that someone I knew in like high school, middle school, like we went to school together throughout our entire, young schooling lives, actually recently like started like a podcast. So apparently, I don't know why I said apparently. It's true. They did recently do that, and I was like shocked to learn this because I don't know. I didn't take them as the podcasting type. They don't really seem like the kind of person to have a lot to say. But I was happy to hear it. I was like, great, they're doing their thing. That's huge. And it also, what it also made me realize, which was kind of crazy to think about, is how many other people are kind of, I'm going to say it again, just like me. like I feel like I get stuck in this kind of spot where I'm thinking no one else is like interested in doing like, I don't know, creating things that are creatively fulfilling. Like no one else is interested in that kind of thing. And I'm like the only one ever who's ever done it. Who's ever had this itch, right? Like obviously not true, right? I'm exaggerating for the sake of the story, but I kind of get in that headspace a little bit, to be honest with you. Sometimes like I'll feel that way a little bit, just a tad. But seeing this, I was like, oh wait, there's more people who are like kind of have similar interests as me. I feel like what I'm doing here is very podcast adjacent. Like obviously nothing I'm doing is super groundbreaking or super exciting. Like this is like very much slop content. But in the current age, in the current state of things, this is the farthest thing from slop. But whatever, you get what I'm saying. I felt connected to this individual in a way that I didn't expect, because this is a person who I had always thought was like the farthest thing from me. I was like, this person, I'll never ever relate to them. Like they're just, they care about different things, like we're not on the same planet. They're playing Uma Musume while I'm playing The Binding of Isaac. Like we're not jiving. We're not even in on the same game, right? Like we cannot relate to one another. I could say, hey, I just got brimstone, and she'd be like, I don't know what that means. I'm like over here winning my horse race, like that. I'm going off the rails here. Probably alienated like one of you, because there's only one of you watching, but probably the one person who was watching this was like, oh, I didn't know what he was saying there. Maybe I'll click off. Thank you for not, though, because you're still here, I assume, unless of course you did, in which case this is now being broadcast to a grand total of 0 people. Thank you for making that change. I did want to have a 0-person audience, so I appreciate the moves that you've helped me make towards that goal. Really one that I've been striving towards for a while now, and I thought I'd never make it. Thank you. Really thank you for your help. I actually do see a lot of people on my YouTube For You page that are saying stuff like, I don't care about the view. I see a lot of, because I've kind of trained my algorithm, I guess, through what I watch to give me this, like to serve me this kind of content. I see so many people who are saying, start a YouTube channel now. It doesn't matter about the views. Create for you. Be yourself and make stuff that you enjoy. And like just tons of videos that are kind of clickbaiting with that trope, which is a good message. I do think it's a little clickbaity. I do think that they're kind of, just saying what they know people are going to want to hear, which is fine. You do you, bro. I'm not trying to hate over here. I'm just a guy, I'm just a guy who's being a guy. We're all guys. All right. That's the biggest message of the Pat Dinch. Honestly, at the end of it all, sorry. Also I think the AC unit or something just turned on. So now you're hearing that in the background, if you're wondering what that was. But yeah. Also, I was very, very thoroughly worried about the background noise that was going to happen today. Because instead of my late night recording session, like 3 a.m. is usually my recording time. Not exactly 3 a.m. Like sometimes it ranges, like 2. Usually starts around 12 a.m. and then it'll end around like 3 to 4, right? So that's the usual typical times. But now today we're recording at a solid 2 p.m. And things are a little bit more lively outside. So I was like, oh, is the traffic going to cause issues? But as soon as I started recording, like the cars kind of started calming down. The intersection seemed to relax a little bit. Not that I live directly next to an intersection. If you're looking for my house, I definitely do not live directly next to an intersection. Actually, in fact, if you're looking for my house, search anywhere but directly next to intersections. In fact, don't search the United States of America. Look for places not near intersections that are located in Spain, actually, is where I live. So that's where you're going to want to hunt for. I'll be waiting for you to pop in at my door. I will welcome you in graciously once you find my house. So keep looking over there. Spain, nowhere near an intersection. That's where you're going to want to be. Stay there. Yeah. Really, really overtime here. This is just kind of despicable. Sorry, I said that and I forgot that was a thing that is a joke among friends. And I realized I just sounded stupid for saying despicable incorrectly. Sorry. If you ever hear me say that, it's just part of my vernacular. It's something that I say. I don't even think anyone... I'm one of those guys, one of those freaks that will keep saying an inside joke after no one else who's in on the inside joke is saying it. And I'll continue saying it not just to the person who was involved in the inside joke, but to people who have never even heard it. So I'll say stuff like despicable, and people will look at me like, what? Like, what school did you go to? How stupid do you have to be to not know how to pronounce despicable, you actual imbecile? And then I'll look at them back like, my bad, bro. Sorry you're not in on the joke. Real niche reference. Sorry, bro. You had to have been there, as if that's anything they could have possibly been there for, which it is not. But whatever. We persist in the face of adversity. We live on as goats. Goats will be goats and life will be life. I've been looking around this summer a little bit, just observing my surroundings and noticing things around me. I think one thing that has been big for me that I've noticed is just how much of the local economy in my hometown is just run by my peers. Like it's all us, bro. We're holding the backbone of society up by our own two hands, it's kind of crazy. I'm witnessing the cycle of capitalism really start to hit in full-fledged and hit its full stride in my peers, through seeing them everywhere and just witnessing the flow of the economy, which I think is pretty interesting. Just everyone doing their thing, everyone being employed, life happens that way, I guess. It's whatever, bro. People like money, people make money, and so it drives them to continue the same cycles that were pre-established for them when they entered the world. I'm not like this. I'm sounding like negative. I'm not dissing the structure of society. I wouldn't have done any better. I'm sure there's a better way to do it. I won't be able to tell it to you though. So, sorry, I just got a little hairball there. I don't know what that was. Let me try and wrap this up real quick because we are just over time. I might even split this up into 2. So if this gets split up into 2 uploads, you know why. It's because your boy went off the rails and got a little spooky, scary, crazed on him. But I was excited to talk to you guys because it's been a couple weeks for me. It's been a while. I got back a few days ago even, and I haven't recorded since I got back either. So it's been a little bit. Anyway, I feel like this one actually didn't turn out half bad. Through the process, I was thinking this isn't going to go my way. It's looking a little worse for wear, but I think we pulled through in the end. We did make some good strides there. So in any case, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so very much for your time. I'm Pat, and you've been great. Until next time, kick rocks, pal. Bye-bye. Have a good one. Bye.